own one of these, you can still buy the accessories, which were really, really cool. But we'll talk about that in the tour. Hey everybody, it's me, Margaret, and it's time to dig around in my Create Room Dream Box and see what I got stored in this thing. Now, I tend to think of this as a evolving process. It's going to be changing as I change. My interests change, different crafts that I want to do, or even my needs. If I have more of one thing, I need to dedicate something else, I can take those shelves out and rearrange any way I want to. So, that being said, whatever I show you today may be completely different in a month from now. So let's look today. But first, let me tell you what I was thinking when I set this thing up. I am primarily a knitter and crocheter, and I sew. So I have my sewing machine here so that it's easy reach, and I have my embroidery machine and my serger on the opposite side, so my chair can just swing back and forth right here. So that's perfect for me. However, you'll notice that I don't have a bunch of yarn stored in this thing, and that's because my yarn collection is rather extensive. So I have it in a closet back in the back and a couple of other places separated by types and colors and things like that. So that's why you won't see yarn stored in here. I'm also kind of a catch-all crafter, so there's plenty of things that come along that I need the basics for. Mod Podge, for example, and paint brushes and different things like that. So that's what you'll see on that side. Most of this is sewing. I tried to think of it in terms of a department store. If I'm thinking in my head, oh, I need a screwdriver, I'm going to go to the hardware department. Well, you know what? I have a hardware department over there. So that's my thought process as I was trying to figure out where to put everything. So I think we'll start over here. Now, I tell you, I am very fortunate in that I don't have to close this thing up, so I really rarely do, but I'm going to lift it up right now just so you can get a good shot of this other side over here. And you can see this part's pretty easy to do as well. So up here you'll see some steel rods, and it came with 4 of them. I've used mine for obviously ribbon up here, and down here is stabilizer for my embroidery machine. Now, I specifically like the placement of this here because all my embroidery machine stuff is like right there, so it's in its own little department. One little bit of trivia here, I said I rarely close mine up, and it's a good thing because my big roll right here does not allow it to close all the way when I swing it around. But since it's not a problem for me, I do this. But be aware, if you need to close yours, don't store anything very large as I have here. Then as we proceed down, you see some hot glue sticks and a lint roller, since I have a cat that likes to sleep right over here on the ironing board all the time, and a box of stabilizer for the embroidery machine. This down here are there's some punches right here and a utility knife, and then that little container holds bits of ribbon that I can still use. Then we've got some push pins of different types. You may have seen that bulletin board I have on the back, and then again some more ribbons, and that thing on the end, glue sticks, because right below is an assortment of glues. I've got different types, and then also that's where I put my Mod Podge, since that is second cousin to glue, right? And then down at the bottom are pre-wound bobbins over here. That's for the embroidery machine, and it's kind of a long story, but you can get more thread if you buy them pre-wound. And then these are some ribbons that I bought for a project a long time ago, and I had it left over, but I'm sure I will use again as we are huge Disney fans. So I think the best way to show you what's in all these totes is to simply take them out and let you peep in. So here are 4 of them, and we've got some spray paints and clear finishes and things like that, and then we have some acrylic paints, which are right here, puff paints, things like that, and of course some little sponge brushes. But these are actually things that you use with these Create Room totes. It lets you customize them further. See how this has a little divider right here? That's what this is. So you can take them out entirely and store things like that, or you can use them to divide it into 2 or 3 compartments, and as I've done right here. But they have them for the big ones like these totes, and then for the little bitty totes that I'll show you in just a minute. And now's a good time to show you this little skinny one that I have right next to those paints up there, and that is all my paint brushes, so I want to keep it in the department of paints. Hey, look, I got this for free when I ordered the paper that I used to cover all these with, like that. I got it from scrapbook.com and they sent this for free. You're supposed to fill this with watercolors and then it comes through the felt tip and you have like a marker. I don't know, I haven't used it yet, but it sounded interesting. So moving on with the bigger containers. I have some of these little cheap beads, and this is jewelry making supplies. I forget what it was I was working on. It was probably about 10 years ago, and I bought some really pretty beads. I wasn't making jewelry. It's something for the house, but I can't remember. And then these were for making Christmas ornaments. And I have, these were like little chalkboard ornaments, and I ended up spray painting them gold. This was probably about 20 years ago. And I made some ornaments as a thank you gift for the people who were working on my committee, and I put pictures of their children in it from, it was a church thing, and they were singing in the church choir, and I put pictures of the kids, of their own children, as a thank you gift. And then over here, one day when I have time, I want to play with dolls. I have enjoyed making doll clothes for the American Girl dolls, and there are so many fun little crafts that are out there for the American Girl dolls, like making pies. I got caught up in our move. We moved here just a few months ago, and I had to just put all this up, and I haven't touched it since. So all of this is American Girl doll supplies, all of this. Now we're moving down with the big containers, and I've got some pom-poms to put on crochet or knit items in various colors, and pom-pom makers. This is actually a box from an old video game, I think, or DVD or something, and I use this to make tassels. You can wrap it this way or wrap it this way, and you can get the different size tassels. It's something I use all the time, so I'm just comfortable with it, so I keep that handy. And then these are my hot glue guns. I have a high temp gun right here, which I rarely use, and I have a low temp gun here, which I use all the time. This is a failed bib. I made this cute little bandana bib and put the snaps on wrong, but it has turned out to be such a handy hot glue mat, so to speak. I put it on here, and it's sort of kind of insulated to wrap it up in, and I can put it away without having to worry about it melting anything while it's hot. And now we move down into these large totes. These are called medium totes, small totes, and we'll go into the large. We'll stay on this column. Right here is machine embroidery stabilizer. 2 different types, well actually 3 different types, and I even keep my scraps right here for small things. And there's more machine embroidery supplies right there. These are the hoops and the guides and different things like that. And then we continue down here with more embroidery things. Well, actually, I started a project over here, which is making little Christmas oven mitts right there, and I have another one I haven't done anything on. And I have since heard that you can embroider on dog collars, and I'm not sure how to do that, but I bought that from the Dollar Tree and thought I'd give it a go. And that's just a microfiber towel. And this is something queued up for machine embroidery that, and a pattern that I was making from an old t-shirt down here that are to-do items, and they just happen to be waiting on me there. And then we move on to some yarn things. This is actually an unfinished object. I started it last year. This is a cute little pattern called Santa Gonk. I don't remember if it was free or not, but he has all those little outfits. There's tons of outfits. You can dress him for any occasion, actually. And I thought that was so fun. So I made his little body, but I haven't done anything else. And you'll see that he is weighted down here. I don't use rice. I use aquarium gravel. Rice can attract bugs. If it gets wet, you have a problem. But aquarium gravel is awesome. So that's what's weighting the bottom of my Santa Gonk. And then just some various crochet things that I don't keep in my bag. Now this next one is actually for knitting socks. Knitting socks is a challenge for me. I know most people find them easy, but all of this is a notebook filled with my sock patterns, my notes, my sock knitting needles that I like to use. I keep them separate. There's sock blockers, and then this was something, I ordered some socks. They came with these really cool hard cardboard things that I thought I might be able to use in the future. I don't know, but it went in there. This is various wood shapes for different types of crafts, and I even keep some emery boards, not because I'm worried about my fingernails obviously, but because I like to use these for sanding rough edges or something like that, so I keep those handy. And then that's just some wooden clothespins. And here we have some various size styrofoam balls and different little crafting bags that I can grab to sort things. Again, I'm always changing what I'm up to, and if I need to bring something around, or if I just want to put things away and I want to grab pieces and parts and bag them together, then that's what that's for. Down here we have some peg people and some clay, and that's some Model Magic. And then down in the bottom was just some catch-all stuff. This is a glass frame that I take apart, and I have used it to make a light tracing box before. Actually, I've used it for several different things, but it stays here because of that. I've since bought a light box though. We'll talk about that in a minute. And some different instruction things that I need reference to, so that's that. And now we'll talk about the column of smaller containers that go all the way to the top. So here were the paints, and the paint brushes were here, so let's start here. So now we're getting into the hardware department. So we have these. Now if you've seen my video on using lattice as a vertical storage system, I use these S hooks on that. I'll link that video below because it's great for not damaging your walls. And speaking of non-damaging, these are the coolest things. I think they were advertised as being, you know, like cord containers, cord wraps. They're magnets and they stretch. And I have used these for more things. Some of the things they've described would be like you could put it on your shirt, one inside your shirt, one outside your shirt, and hang your glasses off of it. Or I've hung keys to the golf cart with it. You can put it on the refrigerator and hang things off the refrigerator. They're really handy, so I like these a lot. What are they called? I saved this tag so I could tell you. They're called Smart and Cool Silicone Something for Fun. 10 colors, 20 pack. I'll link these below for you. And then we have those that I was going to make for some craft, but I don't remember what it was now. And then over here we have magnets, and these are some, I was going to make some stitch markers with this and put it here with the wire so I would find it. Wire and wire cutters. Then in this one we have these things that hang stuff on the wall with that. It's one little hole, but it hangs heavy things. You stick it through the sheetrock, and when you twist it, it hangs like this and presses up against the wall. I love these, use them all the time. And then there's some nails and different things that I would use in here for hanging. This protects the back of the, put it on the back of the picture to protect the wall so it doesn't scratch, you know, things like that. And then over here we have some real hardware, a teeny hammer and some pliers, and then this little thing, which is a great hammer, and it has all these little functions in there, but it kind of hurts my hand to pull all of them open, so I really don't use it that often, but it really is cute, isn't it? These picture hanging supplies is a good example of something that won't remain in this room. Right now I'm still decorating. I'm still trying to figure out where I want to hang my favorite things. So while I do that, I want to keep them handy so I don't have to run down the stairs every time I get a bright idea. Then the last of the hardware are these wonderful hooks, the command hooks that are damage-free. And then as you proceed down, the placement of this, which is knitting and crochet supplies, is right next to what I showed you earlier. So it's all in the department. Someone sent me this one time, the company that made this, and I did a giveaway of several of these, but it's kind of nice. It's very nice actually. It has all kinds of supplies in it. And it's wonderful for traveling because you'll have stitch markers and tapestry needles and everything you need right there. Large needles that I've only worked with one time and do not enjoy. And this is a double-ended crochet hook. It's kind of like Tunisian crochet, but you can work from both ends on it. This was a vintage thing that I got from some swap we did years ago. I've never used it, but it doesn't stay in my regular bag, so it's up here. And this is wonderful, made by April May of the Steady Hand. It's a stitch marker holder. Isn't that neat? And I have so many stitch markers that I keep them separate and switch them out from time to time. And right smack in the middle, I have an empty one, which is great because I'm always finding things thinking, oh, I need to put that here. Let's move this. What, you know, I told you that. I love these dividers, and this is a good chance to show you how easy those things work. Now, in these smaller ones, you can have 3 dividers creating 4 spaces, so that's really cool. And then over here, I have the legs to one of the knitting machines, and these are some big clips that I've used as weights. Or whatever. You can use these as like a vise or something like that, so that's handy. And last but not least in this row, we have chenille stems, colored, black and white. These are wonderful little containers for small things. Keep them there, and I have one more empty. And now we'll move over to the center here, the top center of the unit. We will begin with this column. Once upon a time I tried my hand at scrapbooking, and it really was not my thing. I think I managed 2 books and that was that. So I gave away most of the things I had collected at that time and kept my favorites, or things that I would find useful in some other capacity than scrapbooking. So I really enjoy these different types of scissors that, you know, do different cuts. Hole punches and, oops, that's in the wrong column. Hole punches and rotary blades. Now I use rotary blades for sewing, and I have a paper cutter that uses these rotary blades, so that's pretty handy. I love this punch. It makes little tags quickly and easily. And speaking of paper cutting, we have my silhouette supplies. This is my main cutting mat, or rather my only one right now. I have some things I want to get for my silhouette because I really love that machine. Lately I've been having these cardboard things show up, and so they'll be excellent for cutting out patterns or whatever, so I'll keep that handy. And just different types of papers. Now here, when I got my silhouette cameo, I have the Cameo 4 and I absolutely love it. And it came with a lot of free stuff, clear sticker paper, and lots of different papers I've never used yet, so I still need to learn how to do heat vinyl and different things like that. So that's lots of those are all, well, I can't pull them out, but you get the point. And a little bit more paper in the next one. This is the paper that I used that sort of matches my ironing board, the red toile and the blue and white toile. They didn't have enough of this red, and that's why I did the blue, and I really like the fact that it did break things up, so that was good. And I recently purchased this paper, and I'm so excited about it. It's vintage Christmas paper. Look, knitting. Now, since paper crafting is not my main hobby, I don't have as many silhouette accoutrements as many people do, although I do love playing with this machine. So I've got my different types of blades here. These are some books or whatnot that came with the machine down here, and all the different tools. These are my cords for the machine. Oh look, you can see those little magnet things in action. This is what they're advertised for, but there are many other uses for these things, but that's kind of cool. So here is kind of like business paperwork. So I have, you know, copies of contracts, also some instruction manuals for my machines and whatnot, which means we're moving into the office supply department of my organization. These are idea notebooks that I have, and this is on my to-do list. These are old audio tapes that were in an answering machine from the 90s, and it's got things on here that I recorded from my children, and I want to figure out how to get it off and make it digital. So that's a to-do list for mine. Also in here are random things one might need, which would be like magnifying glass and whatnot. So I don't know, does anybody ever need a magnifying glass anymore now that we have magnifying glass on our phones through the camera? Well, I'll have this if I need it. Okay, moving on, we have more office supplies in here from rubber bands, and this is a Truvia container. This did not come with the Dreambox. The Dreambox comes with these little containers. But before I ever got the Dreambox, I have a whole collection of these things, and the reason why I loved them so much is because they're nice and flat and they're stackable. Do you see how the bottom has an indentation in there? So you could actually stack one upon another, which is awesome. And it just so happens that these are the same way, so that's terrific. They're slightly different shape, This one, I think they seem to hold the same amount of volume, but this one looks so much prettier in my Dreambox. I like the white because my Dreambox is white. This is a neat contraption. In case you don't have enough USB ports, you can just plug that in, you know, on one end, and then you have all these ports that you can use. Clearly, I don't seem to need it right now, which is why it's in here. And then, of course, all your basic office supplies that one might need. And you'll see these things a lot in my organization. This was a Velveeta box, like the Velveeta cheese came in it. And this is a sturdy cardboard box. We have not eaten Velveeta cheese in, I know, 15 years. It could be longer than that, because Velveeta is not good for us. It's got trans fats in it, and it is just horrible. So I do not buy it any longer, and yet, look, I still have these. I have tons of them that I have saved over the years. They're so strong. So I do look for organizers anywhere. Now this was a little organizer for a Lego advent calendar. Thomas used to get those every year for Christmas. And each one would have a different day. It'd have something that you could build in it. And I saved it and cut it apart, and I used these in different drawers. Now, Create Room has begun offering these smaller inserts to go in dividers that would be a lot prettier than my little hodgepodge of things right here. So that's worth noting. Now, 4 of these medium-sized totes that go down the center. And what I have in here are some foam squares, rectangles, or whatever. And then the rest of these 3 have to do with videoing. Now, when I have an idea of something that I want to do, I just stick it in here, and then I'll get to it when I can. This is going to be part of a tutorial on hat sizing. These are some things that I want to talk about in a future video, and this is all camera equipment that I would need. And the reason that I keep the camera equipment in this little bag right here is because this is what I travel with. So it's so much easier. I kind of have everything memorized, what pocket things go in. So if I keep it like this all the time, then when I'm traveling, it's not that big of a deal. I know exactly where to reach to get what I need. But let me bring up one more little thing. These are antenna decorations that we got from Disney World years ago. It came for one for every holiday. And the problem is none of our cars have antennas anymore. So they're just too cute to throw out. So it's like, well, what am I going to do with them? Look at Christmas. So what I have been trying to do, but I forget to do, is to display them according to the holiday. I have one right there since it's almost Thanksgiving. I also thought that I would enjoy stamping and maybe card making, and I learned that I did not like that very much, but I did keep the Christmas ones and these monogram type ones, which are really cute. Oh look, there's a little sheep on there too. And the next 2 are just felt squares that I have used on numerous occasions as well. Now these next 4 that I have are just a collection of patterns. I keep most of them in notebooks, so I just lay them flat. Now I have noticed that some people who want to keep books in quick reference, they'll remove these things and stand their notebooks up like that. But in my case, I don't access these on a regular basis, so I think it looks kind of nice to hide them behind the paper, you know, that kind of cohesive look, because mine are all recycled notebooks. Look at this, something Thomas had in the 4th grade, I think it was. What this is actually is where I store knitting needles. This is my fixed needles or my double points that I have. And I keep them in these little containers that my friend Erin, Give Me Yarn 418, turned me on to. They're a Martha Stewart product, and they have these little flaps. So you have 2 pockets with a little flap that lays over the top and kind of keeps things from falling out, which is really handy. And then I store patterns that I have purchased, like that's an American Girl doll pattern, and I put them in these page protectors like this. And you just slip the pieces behind the picture, and that way you know what it is you're going to make. So that was the middle right there, and now we're going to proceed over here. I think we'll start with the big pieces again. So since we're on what I call the sewing side, we got mostly sewing things over here. We'll start with these buttons where I've got them divided in little bags based on size or shape or style. And then another Truvia container, and I've got some odd buttons, kind of whimsical. Can you see the monkey face in there? That one's a cowboy and a heart. And these are some really fun buttons right here. This is some ceramic buttons that look like little kitties, or we have some bees and some sheep and, you know, whimsical. Did I already use that word, didn't I? Oh, look at the snowman. It's like a melted snowman. Isn't that cute? So anyway, fun little collection there. Then over here I have zippers. Now, why do I have so many zippers? Well, thrift shopping for one and recycling for another. This is a perfectly good zipper. I just took it out of a skirt and there you go. Same thing for that. This one right here came from a soup bag that one of my kids had when they were in the band, and we didn't want the soup bag anymore. No, not that it was even usable, but it also had Madison Central Band printed on it. So I saved the big giant long zipper. So that's several dollars there. That's a good savings right there. Now, I am famous for looking for sales, or if I see something at a thrift store, I'm going to go, oh, that's a great deal, and that's why I end up with so much. Now that I have the Dreambox, I'm actually better at not doing that because I'm more aware of what I have and I don't double buy, for example. So there's that. This is something that was cotton yarn was wound around, and I just thought it looked like a Christmas tree, so I'm thinking, oh, of course we need to keep something like that. And then these over here are some wipes. It's an Amazon brand, and it's actually supposed to be like a wipe for sensitive skin, but there's no lanolin in this, so it's not exactly what a baby wipe ingredient might be. It's just all of it is food-safe ingredients. So you can use it to wipe off counters, and because it doesn't have lanolin in it, it leaves everything nice and squeaky clean instead of greasy streaks or anything like that. So I have some of these in every room, and I use these for quick cleanups. It's awesome. Oh, I forgot to mention, they're not antibacterial or antiviral or anything. They're just for cleaning, but safe on sensitive skin too. Now, I need a place to throw scraps, paper scraps, and this is where I have been throwing them. This is all the scraps that I got when I was cutting out the liners for each of these totes. Things like this could easily be a pre-made tag. All I need to do is punch a hole right there, and of course we saw that my hole punches are right over there and right on the back, so that's kind of cool. Now, I used to use these a lot in my old house because my cabinets were dark, and so I'd stick these, see how they light up? I stick these anywhere so I could have some quick light. I don't really have the need for those now, but just in case, they're right there. And now we're getting into some more sewing hardware. So I used this and those Mickey ribbons that I showed you earlier to make these little keychains with these little things to give away as gifts one year when we went on a Disney cruise. And I've got things like book rings and I don't know what you actually call these things. I used them to make some pacifier holders where you clip that on the baby or something, and that's what those were for. And then in the back we've got different string and twine and things to make a big giant clasp for, I don't know, a giant dog collar or something like that. You know what I'm talking about, how they fit into one another. They have a name, I can't recall it right now. Oh, here's an example. This is what I made, but a big version. I was trying to make a dog collar out of this, but I never finished, did I? But take this, shorten it, fold it like this, and then put one of these things on it, and you have a little key fob. So you could do that with any kind of ribbon that would suit the recipient. Covered buttons, some piping left over from my daughter's room when she was like 8 years old. She had a pink and white, blue and white gingham room, and I felt like I could use that somewhere along the line. These are some heavy duty snap kit right there. This is another cute little organizer that I use. This is from Harry and David, and they gave, you know, when you get those gifts from people, and this is like the marmalade or a jam or something like that, and it's such a cute little jar that it's perfect for things like these hooks and eyes. Hem faces taping and tapes and piping, Velcro, and more piping and trim and stuff like that. What is this? This looks like it came with a camera or something, and I thought that could be made into something else. I've got a couple of them. Here's some colorful snap set with its applicator, and I keep my foot pedal to my sewing machine in here when I'm not using it, just so I can have one less wire that's around. It's very easy. It just plugs in the side like this, like an audio jack. So just helps keep everything nice and neat. And yes, this is all elastic. Remember when I said when things go on sale, I run out and buy it because I think I'll need it? Well, I've had this for ages, and when people were asking me where I was getting the elastic when I was sewing all the masks that I sewed, I already had it. I didn't have to go out and get it in. There was also a shortage, come to find out. There was probably a shortage because I bought it all up years ago. This happens to be elastic that I saved from an old fitted sheet, and as a matter of fact, when I recovered my ironing board over there, that's the elastic that I used. Sewing notions of various things, different presser feet, whatever, turning tools. These are all my sewing machine needles. This was a cute little jar that I used. I just thought the shape of it was pretty, and so I put it to use in organization. This is old sewing machine needles. I need to save them so that if you just throw a sewing machine needle in the garbage, you could actually poke somebody if they were to pick up your garbage bag, and I don't want to do that, so I wait and I fill it up, throw it away like that. And this is a reference for when to use what needle, so I keep that handy, and I do refer to it a lot. This is a wonderful thing that I got from Amazon. This little marker right here tells you what needle is in your machine, lest you forget. And then if you use a needle and it doesn't dull, you just need it for something quick, you can save it by putting it here and you know which kind it is. And then I just put some sewing needles right here just because it's easy. I used to have this mounted on the wall above my sewing machine, but I don't have that set up anymore, so I just keep it here and it works great. This too is mounted in that same area, and I use magnets to keep tapestry needle handy. I use that for after serging to kind of sew the ends in. And then this is a reference that I made for myself so I could remember what to set the zigzag on to get something that I had in my head. You know, this is what I want it to look like. I forgot what the number settings were, so that just is a reference for myself. This is a non-stick thing that goes on the back of those big rulers, presser feet, and obviously pins and needles and some measuring tools. And this is a floppy ruler, and long-time viewers of my channel will know exactly where that comes from. Now, I don't usually mark things with a rotary thing, what do you call this, dressmaker's wheel, and tracing paper. But this is left over from years ago, and I keep it in there just because you never know, you might want to. I have a special marking tool that requires chalk, and so I just use cheap old chalk that you can get from anywhere and break it into pieces and drop it in, and it works great. These are some things that I need for my serger. And this is a scissors sharpener, and it works great. If you've never seen one, this is a Fiskars brand. You take your scissors, you put it in, and you act like you're cutting, and it sharpens up your scissors. Now, I don't use this on my good sewing scissors, my fabric scissors. I have those professionally sharpened, but this is great for paperwork. I don't know about you, but I can't live without Wonder Tape. I use this for so many things when I sew. It's just like a third hand to help you out. Then we have some iron cleaner, and this is some lubricant that's safe for plastics. The fabric was given to me by a viewer, and I thought it was so adorable because I'm always drinking coffee and tea, and I wanted to make a little apron, and so I bought all the things to go with it, and now I have to take the time to actually sit down and do it. And down to the last two, we have a tote full of interfacing. This is all the different types of interfacing plus the scraps, because I do save scraps for the small pieces and parts. And this is a bunch of notebooks, which is what I use for planning projects and different things like that. And starting at the top of the column of these small containers, we have just a bunch of little different things. We have these little Christmas light beads or buttons or trim or whatever, some eyeballs that you can glue on something, some jingle bells that we have, plain beads, some wiggly eyes, and look, again, one of those little Harry David jars with some teeny tiny wiggly eyes in there. And I also use these buttons for eyes a lot in knit and crochet, so I've got those different sizes, the black buttons in different sizes. There's some safety eyes and some carrot noses that I made from clay a long time ago. I didn't really have any place to put these. These are pins or badges or whatever you want to call these little things with the emoji faces on them. Clearly I have more room. And this is just an assortment of different types of tape. This big one here is a double-sided tape that I put on my furniture to keep the cats from sharpening their claws. After a while you can take it off because they just get out of the habit of trying. These next two are more cordings and thick ribbons that you can put on bags or something like that. Then we have seam rippers. Yes, I buy these in bulk from Amazon, use these a lot. And different types of safety pins. Those are the kind that don't have the little curly Q down here at the bottom. And then some larger ones, and this was some hardware that I had for making Roman shades way back in the early 90s. Now from this point down is my thread collection, and you'll see here that I've kind of divided everything up by color. So these are the blue family is right here, and then it just goes all the way down. And starting on our last little part here, I've got these containers holding clips, and I love the way they fit down in here so well like this. Different types of clips. Actually, these are some buttons that I was using to do another project, and I took them out to keep them separate right there. Small, medium, medium large, and large buttons are right there. Pens and pencils, and my favorite Disney cup that actually sprung a leak on me. So I've been using it like this for about 10 years. I use pre-round bobbins for machine embroidery, and there's a reason. I know that may sound wasteful, but it's actually, there's a good reason mechanically why you should do that. And so I save those bobbins right here. I can reuse them if I want to. This was an extra giant button that I got from Knit Crate that fits nowhere else, and this is aquarium gravel. This is what I use instead of rice when you need to stuff something that needs to be weighted, because it's washable, because it doesn't attract bugs, it can handle any kind of moisture in a humid environment. So there you go. And you know what? It's even cheaper if you just go out and look in your street, look in your gutter, and you can pick up some tiny little rocks like this and wash it. Now, moving down, you have this portion that is actually built into the door, and you can't move this. It gives stability to the door, and it comes with 3 divisions or 3 sections right here. There's a little divider there and 1 divider there. However, if I bring you up close, you'll be able to see something that I did to modify it. Can you see the foam core right there? I used foam core in several different places to further divide, see it right there? To further divide these up. And of course these are divided by type, colored pencils, Sharpies, you can see how that goes. And then as we move down, we see scissors hanging on hooks. And I forgot to mention it earlier when I had showed you on the other side where I had the punch tools hanging. Those hooks come with the Dreambox. So they're already pre-drilled, and you just twist them up in there. These are my fabric scissors and my pinking shears, and just different scissors for different purposes. I have several rotary cutters, but they're over on the cutting table over there. This is a neat little thing. Well, I don't know why I have this there. See, even when you have the tools to be organized, you still have to put things back where they belong. This was something that I got years ago when I used to do a lot of desktop publishing. You just slide paper or cardstock in there and poke it like that, and it leaves these tiny little slits for business cards. And this is a wonderful tool by Foamworks that cuts. It comes with a special little cutting board, and it locks into it, boom, and then you press down and you drag it across, and you have these perfectly clean cuts. It's awesome. And continuing down, I've got light bulbs for my studio lights, and my label maker down at the very bottom. Now before I show you what's underneath the table, I want to point out something that costs extra but was totally worth it, and that's this lighted crown. Now my camera is set to adjust light, so I know it doesn't look very bright to you right here, but trust me, it's the perfect light for putting task lighting down here on the table. And it turns on over here behind the sheep. Has a little switch right there on the power strip. Oops, let me clarify that it does have its own power button, but I personally turn mine on and off at the power strip. Now speaking of this power strip, this is something else that I would like to have an additional one. I did order this. It was called like the Power Pack or something like that. And yeah, you can use any power strip you want, of course, but I want this one. I want a second one like this because it fits in these little holders. And the little holders snap into the wall, into these shelving units, so that everything is up, contained, and out of your way. It doesn't inhibit your workspace in any way. So what do I keep underneath the table? Now there's shelves here that again are completely customizable. Take them out if you don't even want them. You need to have taller things in here. Me, I've got some batting here that's really unattractive but needs to be kept handy. This is a laminating machine and it's so funny. I use this laminator more than I ever thought that I would. It's very simple. You have this little cartridge and you slide the cartridge in there and forget about it. You just walk up, feed your paper in there, turn the crank, and it comes out laminated. It's really nice. It's not a heat laminator, it's a cold laminator, and it works really well. Here's where I keep the Cameo right here. Because it's so long, it's kind of hard sometimes to find a place to store it, so it's perfect right here. Now, this little thing came with the Create Room Dream Box. It's a set of little cards. You can change them and show off whichever one you want to, but it actually is something that accompanies the Create Room journey. And that's almost like a little workshop or class, if you will, that can help you determine what your goals are. They may be your business goals or specifically your creative goals or whatever, and you can work through it. And you can find out, it starts you from the very beginning, like what is your purpose for creating? Why do you want to do creative endeavors? And then takes you through the whole process. It's really neat. And as a matter of fact, I think we may do a video on the process together. I can kind of introduce you to that and we can figure that out together. Down here is my paper cutter. And I'm not even sure if this is still on the market. I've had this for so long and it's wonderful. I'm sure, because this is so wonderful, I am sure there has to be some version of this that's available now. But essentially, you use the rotary blades, just any rotary blade that you would buy for your rotary cutter, you know, that sort of thing. It goes right there. And then this little thing right here is actually a special size cutting mat. It's the same material as a cutting mat is made of. So over here, because I knew that this was discontinued, I bought these up. Again, when I used to do desktop publishing, I'd cut a lot of cards and different things like that, so I really went through these a lot more back then than I do now. But I am set for life with that. And then just recently, I bought myself a light box, which is a tracing tool. Sometimes when you're doing applique or whatever, you need to flip an image, and sometimes tracing comes in handy if you can't do it on the computer. So I've always used a makeshift version, like that frame where I had the glass but no back on it. Shine a light underneath it and you have the same thing. We also had a kitchen table that was glass, and so I would take a desk light and clamp it to the edge of it upside down, and it would shine the light up, and the kids could trace things that way when they needed to. But I've never owned a proper tracing what is this called? Tracing box, like LED adjustable illuminated tracing light box. I've never really owned an official one. So I saw it on sale on Amazon Prime Day and I grabbed it for a song. So I haven't yet to use it, but here it is. And that's all I have stored in the bottom. And I really like the standing desk option too. You know, you burn more calories when you stand up, and it's actually much better for your circulation and your health in general not to sit for long periods of time. So this for me is just awesome. I love it. So I hope you enjoyed this tour. I really love this thing. I'm glad I did these little cutouts here. They're just the paper that covers it up. It gives it so much more of a cohesive look, because I don't have a lot of things that match in color, so it's very, very busy. This instead gives me a feeling of like cozy curtains that are hanging all around me like that. So these cut files, by the way, are free. I got them off the Create Room Facebook group, and someone had just designed them and decided to share with other people. I think they work both for Silhouette and Cricut, if I'm not mistaken. And if you happen to be on the fence about whether you want the Dreambox or not, then this is a video that may interest you, as I talk about pros, cons, why it's priced the way it is, why I don't think it's overpriced, and some great alternatives if you're in the mood for that. So thanks for hanging out with me for this tour, and if you have any questions, put them in the comment section below, and if I can't answer them, I'll find somebody who is more knowledgeable than I am who can. But thanks for watching. Talk soon. Bye.